Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. It's Friday, and my mom's out of the hospital. She's out of the hospital. She's out of rehab. I didn't even know she was
in the hospital all this time since she fell down.
Well, she was in rehab.
Oh,
They did some surgery. She's walking on a walker. 94 years old, kicking it strong.
Good.
My mom's saving grace is she has a good attitude. That's for sure. She's a great attitude. You always got to sing. That's what she says. You always got to sing. My father always sang. That's why I sing. That's why you sing.
What kind of music does she sing?
She just sings, dances around the kitchen.
Just like anything.
Danced around the kitchen with me. She'll sing anything. She'll sing the Maha Mantra.
Does she listen to the show?
Never.
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 Not even a little curious what her son's up to.
She comes up to Super Soul whenever we have programs.
Okay.
And she sits with anyone who sits alone during lunch. She sits right down there with them, and she'll be like, "That person needed to talk, so I just singled them out." And then she's 94. She's 94, by the way. And then she'll look around. She goes, "I go, what do you think of the program today, Mom?" She's like, "All these people, they just want to get married. They come here just to meet girls and boys." I was like, yeah, okay. Maybe you're right. There's probably some truth in that. And what else is she? Another great one.
Jamuna Jai has danced with her. She says.
Yeah, Jamuna Jai has danced for sure. Other Grandma Terry quotes is on Halloween, she said, "On Halloween, you can be anything you want. Dress up in any costume you want, but no devils. No devils are real. Devils are real."
You've shared that with us.
That's a famous one.
And of course, never
watch out for Crazy March. Ever heard that one? Watch out for Crazy March.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, because the weather
was practically March yesterday, and there was a snowstorm here.
Okay.
March is one of those months where you feel comfortable. Hey, it's spring again. No, it's not spring. It's March. Watch out for Crazy March. Careful where you swim.
You've shared all these things before. We've heard them several times. And of course, don't talk to the cops. That's like
never tell it to work that out yourself. Careful who you marry. That's a good one. Careful who you marry.
Very good one.
They could have crazy relatives, and then you can have crazy kids.
Okay.
They could have crazy like family lineage. You got to check their family lineage if there's any insanity in the family tree. Great advice. I'm gonna make a book of her quotes. Okay. So today.
Yes. Any announcements?
Well, Saturday I'm doing this thing with Raghunath Swami.
You plug
Yogi
that.
Charu,
we gotta plug
Jai. We didn't plug it. We haven't plugged it. But
so that's
Saturday,
called
if you're
Bhakti Center 1-day yoga retreat, I think, isn't it? 1-day retreat.
Yeah, 1-day yoga retreat with Raghunath Swami. I do it every year with Raghunath Swami.
Yeah.
And
others are involved.
In person.
Yogi Charu is involved in that. Jagir Dari, right?
Yeah, people I love.
Okay. And that's like all day on Saturday.
It's all day. It's on Zoom. I know sometimes people are sick of Zoom. Sometimes Zoom is their lifeline. So
Okay.
if you're a Zoom person and you want to hear some good people and me, check us out. Go to the bhakticenter.org and check out that one day retreat with Radhanath
It's all
Swami.
day tomorrow.
And yeah, tomorrow.
Beginning
and
like
I'm
at 7
teaching-
a.m. or
so-
something?
Yeah, 7:15, I think. I can't do the show tomorrow, so
I see that.
there's no show tomorrow. And we'll do a show on Easter, despite the Easter egg hunt. We'll have to work the Easter egg hunt around it.
What is this egg hunt?
And I might go visit Kaustubha. I might have a sleepover at his house on Sunday
now we're
night.
talking.
Little pillow fight.
You bring me an Easter basket?
After all your Easter criticism, forget it.
I'm not criticizing
egg hunt
Easter. I'm
criticism.
just saying, you could still have the show. It doesn't have to take the whole day, right?
Yeah, kids like to. My wife makes things special on the holidays. It's a whole Easter fiasco.
Okay.
But yeah. All right. We're going to dive a little bit into the gunas today. And, if you're, sometimes we take a yoga teacher training course and we learn about the gunas, Rajaguna, Sattvaguna, Tamaguna. If you're unfamiliar with them, I just wanted to talk about them a little. And we've been quoting Albert Einstein all week. And one of my favorite ones is, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't know it. So I always loved that quote because I had little kids and I would try to figure out, how do you explain Vedic truths to a 6-year-old? And so every now and then I just try to work on some stuff. And by the way, the gunas is just sort of a way to, it's like a set of lenses to view the material world. And that's what I really love about chapter 17 of the Gita, chapter 14 about the Gita. Even if you don't really believe in God or anything, even spiritual, it teaches you actually how to be happy in the material world by aligning your consciousness and your activities with sattva guna. And it gives you that vantage point. So here's I want to hear Kaustubha's reaction to my how to explain this to a
I'm all
6-year-old.
ears.
Okay.
I
Things
sometimes
that are in
speak to
sattva.
kids, I get called on to, last week I did a program for like kids, so
Yeah,
I'm on
and you
here.
know why you're good at that? Because you can explain it to a 6-year-old.
Oh, okay.
That's why you
I see.
fully imbibe this stuff.
Well, I wanna
That's
hear
why
how
they
you
call
explain it.
upon you. Who really understands the stuff? Who can explain it to 6-year-olds? Kaustubha Das can. Okay. Shall. Things in the mode of goodness, sattvik, that's sattva or sattvik, things in the mode of goodness appear good,
Mhm.
taste good,
Mhm.
and they're good for you. Appear good, taste good, they're good for you. And I always use an example of an apple. Apple a day? Apple a day, Kaustubha?
Yeah, keeps the doctor away.
Finish the shloka, please.
Keeps the doctor away.
Apple a day keeps the doctor away.
But aren't there
Eat
things
apples,
like
they
in,
taste good, they smell good. Good for
aren't
you.
there-
You're
aren't
always
there
going
things
to
in
find.
Rajaguna that taste good though?
Listen, you're always going to find something that doesn't fit into my 6-year-old
Okay.
analogy. Okay,
All right.
don't
All
push
right.
it. Please don't push this.
Okay. Don't test my analogy. Okay. Say that again. Things that they
Don't
taste
test my
good.
depth.
They taste
Looks
good.
good, tastes
They're
good, good for you.
Looks good, tastes good, good
Sattvaguna.
for you. Okay.
Feels good, looks good. Okay, here's another one.
Yeah.
Rajaguna, right? The
Mhm.
mode of passion, of movement, of aggression, right? Mode of passion. Looks good, seems good, makes you sad. Looks good, seems
Makes you
good,
sad.
might even taste good, makes you
Like
sad.
frustrated, right?
Domino's Pizza. Looks good, smells good. Domino's Pizza a day doesn't make the doctor go away. Calls a doctor to you. That's the problem with Domino's Pizza a day.
Okay.
You know,
And then
appears
the third one?
good, not good. Doesn't appear good.
This is
doesn't
mode of
appear good.
Tamagun now.
Not good for you. This is Tamagun, mode of ignorance.
Okay.
You look at a slaughterhouse, a butcher shop,
Mm.
some animal hanging up by its leg. It doesn't even appear good. Whiskey doesn't appear good, doesn't smell good, not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Has the ability to dismantle your life. Tamagun. You think about that?
I think it can be helpful. Thank you for sharing that.
We'll line up your 6-year-olds and my 6-year-olds. We'll have a
Okay,
little
see who can
trivia
have a
hot
debate.
seat. See how they do.
I explain it like this. It's like every object, it's like radiating an influence, right? It's like it's radiating off from it.
My 6-year-olds don't know what radiation means. What?
Well, it's coming from it, right? It's coming from it. You can explain it. All right. I'll take that.
Maybe
I'll
you've
run
got
with it.
brighter 6-year-olds than me.
These New York kids are smart, Like I do it for these New York schools, and like the kids, they kind of grow up fast, but they're sharp.
They grow up fast, man.
They ask really good questions.
My kids are like Little House on the Prairie.
That might be healthier. That might be
Like
healthier. Maybe you're not
slingshots
meant to
in their
grow up
pocket.
fast. Yeah, but
I don't think you're meant to grow up fast. They
Yeah,
grow
you
up
gotta
too fast.
keep it simple.
They're
for a while.
exposed to crazy things in the city. You don't even realize it until you take your country bumpkin kids to the city. I remember going visiting my mom when my kids were little, and there was a massive, massive billboard for some movie with a man's face in a cage. Like it was just so like gruesome to look at. I was thinking that is gruesome. My kids were looking at this like, what is that? It was like, it's just like business as usual for New York kids.
All
You got weird people doing weird things in the subway. Come on.
Yeah, no weird people out there in the country.
Well, at least they're tucked away.
Everywhere you
Tucked
look,
away
there
in their
weird people
they're
up
tucked
there.
away in their farmhouse. You don't see they're not walking
They're
around
carrying
doing
guns.
stuff. They're carrying guns. I got a gun.
All right, you ready?
Protect yourself.
From
People
all the
wanna
weird
kill ya.
people up there.
People want to kill you up in the country. That's a thing.
All right.
All
you ready?
right.
Let's do it.
Narayanam namas. If you're new to this, we say secret mantras now. Okay, get ready. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devam saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed in loving service to the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Mundatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
I was born blind in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual masters were kind to me, and they treated my blindness with their words of wisdom. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto them.
Yeah, we gotta chisel that, but I thought we upcycled spiritual masters and changed it to teachers, spiritual teachers.
Yeah, I mean, teachers, it's, I mean, I don't know if
Master's
that
intimidating. The master.
Well, if you think of master like slave master, it is. But if you think of master like, think of master like a yogi master or something like that, or someone who's mastered their senses or something.
I understand. I understand what it means. I'm okay saying the word, but I'm just saying I think that what we've specialized
teacher doesn't
here
convey it all,
sages
though, right?
is changing.
Teacher, it's not just someone that's giving you information. It's more than that. Someone that embodies that information too. Let's continue to work on it. We'll think about it. Okay.
Okay.
What about guru? Are you happy with that? Did that work?
Guru's good because it's a non-translatable. You know what I mean?
All right. Why don't we go with guru?
You could do a rough translation of teacher, but
I mean, it says Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, right?
Yeah, guru. Let's stay with guru.
I'm gonna go with guru.
This is what me and Kaustubha do. We're wordsmiths. We're wordsmiths. We're
Now
taking
that
the
you're a
words we're
writer-
translated into English and retranslating them into other English words or back to Sanskrit. It's
Raghu's
important.
like, he's walking around and like, I'm an author now. I'm like,
I'm
a
not.
wordsmith.
I'm a worse.
All right, let's go.
My memoirs. Memoirs. I got to change it. I need a title. If anybody's got a good title, hit me up on the message board, please, for my book. Thank you. All right, man.
You ready?
Tell
So,
us where we are.
We're in the third canto, chapter 7, text number 20. And this is a very interesting text. There's a clue here about life, and if we want to be successful in spiritual life.
Oh, good.
And but if we go back to, we read a verse yesterday where, like, the results, that, well, I'll just read it again. Text 19, that by serving the feet of the guru, or gurus, right? I'm wordsmithing it.
Spiritual maestro. Change it to maestro.
One is enabled to develop transcendental ecstasy. Well, that's a great result. Who, in service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the unchangeable enemy of the Motu demon, and whose service vanquishes one's material distresses. So we heard about the illusion. I'm identifying with the mind like the moon and the water. I'm confused, and therefore I'm suffering miseries in life. We're given the remedy. You serve these great souls, and we're given the results of that you develop transcendental ecstasy, and it vanquishes your material distress. Okay, great. We've recognized the problem. We've been given the remedy. Now comes an important clue in this text number 20. You want to read that, Raghu?
Text 20. Overpowered by hunger and thirst, they ran to devout.
You're in the totally wrong chapter. Where
Am I
are
in the
you?
wrong chapter? How did I end up there?
Overcome by hunger and thirst. Where were you?
What chapter are we on?
We're in chapter 7. Are you in the right canto?
I was in chapter 20. There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Number
Close.
20. Overpowered by
Sorta.
hunger and thirst. I was like, oh, this got interesting quick.
Yeah, I was like, where are we?
This
Who is
really
overpowered by hunger and
picked up
thirst?
from the last verse. Persons whose austerity is meager
Uh-huh.
can hardly obtain the service of the pure devotees. Their austerities are meager. Can hardly obtain the service of the pure devotees who are progressing on the path to the kingdom of God, the Vaikunthas. Pure devotees engage 100% in glorifying the Supreme Lord, who is the Lord of the demigods and the controller of all living entities. Nice.
So there's a term here, alpa tapasa. Right.
Alpa tapasa means the tapas of the words,
No, tapasa means
the tapas of the word, like what does alpa
austerity.
mean?
Austerity. Tapas,
Oh, austerity of the tapas. Wait, that's what tapas means.
Tapas is austerity. And alpa means meager, like a little bit. Alpa means like
Oh, a little bit of austerity.
just a tiny bit. People that they just got this meager little amount of, like, the drive to perform austerity. Right.
A little bit alpa tapasa.
Alpa tapasa. You're
Okay.
into some tapasa. But
Hot and cold with my tapas.
Yeah, yeah, a little hot and cold. Me too. So why don't you read the commentary? Let's hear what Prabhupada has to say about this.
Text 20. This is a good one. All right. The path of liberation, as recommended by all authorities, is to serve the mahatmas, which are transcendentalists.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the Bhagavad-gita is concerned, the mahatmas are the pure devotees who are on the path to Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God, and will always chant and hear the glories of the Lord rather than to talk of dry, profitless philosophy. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
The Vedic culture despises philosophy just for the sake of philosophy. Philosophy is given by the Mahatmas. It's given by the authorities. There is authorities. This stuff is real. It trickles down. You can't just make it up and call yourself a philosopher. That is dry and profitless. Isn't that beautiful? Who cares? Because you're smart, you can just dream up a philosophy and then mislead a whole group of people just because you dreamed it up. What do the authorities have to say about this? That's why I love this Vedic culture. It's real. It trickles down, and the authorities, they line up with the other authorities.
It holds up, right? Past the test of time.
You too, Jerome, Damayanti, Mickey, Sega, you too can be, they're all looking at me like, what? You too can be authorities. And you know how you become authorities? You study from authorities, and then you present like authorities. And then you become great philosophers. You don't just make stuff up. All the authorities hear from other authorities. That's the method. That's the parampara. People in America just dreaming stuff up. This system of of association has been recommended since time immemorial. But in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, it is especially recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even if
this
one
is
has
important. This next sentence.
Okay, ready?
This is about us.
Put your seatbelt on. Even if one has no assets or of favorable austerity, that means even if you can't do this tapasya,
You're weak.
you're weak, right?
Yeah.
Broken, dented. If they are nevertheless take shelter of the mahatmas, who are engaged in chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, he is sure to make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead. So you might not have that ability to be so austere or renounced, but you take shelter of those who do.
Serve
and
them.
get focused in chanting and serve them. Then you get swept up in the current, right? I didn't want to swim. I was just splashing around, but the riptide is dragging me out. You get swept up in the association of great souls of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And all this stuff you guys are hearing, the interesting thing is if you're new to this whole stuff, you're like, okay. You don't even realize, but you're hearing it as a sounding board. And then the universe, the mysterious universal force, God, whatever you want to call God, is going to throw different philosophies at you. And you're going to use this Bhagavat philosophy as a sounding board to hear all these other people's ideas. And it's going to take you right back to the Bhagavatam. And you're never going to be able to get around this. Now that you've heard it, even a little bit, you know too much. Your material life is over. It's only a matter of time. You know what I'm talking about, Kaustubha?
Yeah.
You know too much.
I do.
I think a lot of people out there, like I'm looking at Kylie Brown right now. Like Kylie, she's been into Bhakti for a long time. But you know what? It's been pounding away at her for years. And then she's been trying to escape. She's trying to escape. And you know what? Krishna just got a hold of her ankle, just dragged her. Like when you hear the truth too much, you cannot run away from it anymore. It just grabs you and it brings you to the truth. You might be at first be like, well, this is very interesting. I'm checking out Vedic philosophy and I check out lots of philosophy because I'm quite philosophical myself. The fact is, this becomes the gold standard and it becomes relevant and practical and livable. Otherwise, it's not so livable. What do you think?
Well, I think, you look at Kylie, she's living it because Kylie's in Atlanta, I believe, right? Yeah.
She's living it now.
So it means
she's full on.
She's doing tapas because she's like waking up early, right? Like it means she's got to be up. It's 5 a.m. that people she's tuning in here.
Oh, that's
morning.
right.
That's called tapas, right? Waking up early.
George is in Eastern time?
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. I thought she was doing Central time. I was like, well, I'm pretty impressed. Not that impressed, but still pretty impressed.
Well, that would be more impressive, bro. You got everything. Like if someone was in Central time and they're getting up, that's earlier for them.
That is, I know. I'm saying pretty impressed.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, you're pretty impressed. Yeah. Well, I mean, for
That's
most
good.
people to get
By the
up
way,
at
if you're
5
listening on
a.m.
Apple Podcasts, if we have a whole Zoom group here that we single out and we put on the hot seat, sometimes call them to speak. So that's these names I'm randomly calling out.
Right.
It could be confusing if you're listening on Stitcher or something like that.
Okay. Now, tapas is that kind of thing like in India. A lot of people almost equate tapas with like spiritual advancement, like with like the depths of one's spirituality, right? And you see traditionally like you have those sadhus, right? Like these kind of quote unquote holy people, like they're lying on a bed of nails. Have you seen photographs of that before, Raghu?
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm impressed with tapas. Here's the deal. It's not necessarily spiritual. You could be doing it for spiritual reasons, but we do the same thing in America. If a person's like, a hermit, or if the person does like a 2-week non-speaking vipassana retreat, we can call it spiritual. It's not necessarily spiritual. Or do a juice fast.
Well, the idea is, I'm sorry, but it's like. There's an understanding in India that if you're not pursuing material gratification, if you're not pursuing sense gratification, you must be onto something, right?
Right.
And we hear about that in these ancient texts. So like, if I see someone that doesn't have a home, well, whoa, they must be getting like pretty serious about this. I know, I'm not so
In
detached
India or
as they
in
are.
America?
I say in India, right? Like if
No.
someone's just like a wanderer, like whoa, okay, like
They're wandering.
they've understood this more deeply than I have, because look how seriously they're taking it. They're performing this tapas. They're denying the control of the senses, right?
Sure.
I hear this knowledge, but I'm still controlled by my senses. I want a comfortable home, and I want, the different, forms of sense gratification. But this person's walked away from it. They must be really into this.
Sure.
And my God, on top of that, they're like, fasting all the time. They must be getting their happiness from within, not from without. And whoa, this guy's like lying on a bed of nails. It's like,
Yeah, or sometimes you see in India, if you're on the trains and stuff, you see like young sadhus, like, 14-year-old sadhus walking around with nothing, a tiny bag, a stick, no shirt, barefoot. It's like they're not necessarily like spiritually connected sadhus. They're interesting people, and they could be spiritually connected, but they could also be doing it for siddhis, mystical perfections.
Well,
They could be doing it as as a type of way they earn their livelihood. People give them money or something like that. I'm just saying, yeah, it's not necessarily spiritual, but it could be spiritual. In the same way, a guy could have spiritual intentions and do a vipassana retreat, or they could just feel like, you know what, I need to just shut up and just notice my mind. Or you could do a juice fast for health reasons. Some people can do it for spiritual reasons.
Well, the Bhagavad-gita is going to clear all that up, right? And like that's what we should read from that today in the 17th chapter. It begins.
Love the 17th chapter,
break
man.
that stuff down. But like you mentioned, mystic cities, like these mystic powers. The Yoga Sutras speak, like tapas is one of the niyamas, right? There's yama, there's niyama.
Tapas is one of the niyamas, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like one of the observances that a yogi observes, one of those practices that a yogi does that will better enable them to control the mind. A little tapas in your life becomes important. And so generally, when we
little bit of tapas in my life, a little bit. What was that song?
I don't think that was it. But a little bit of tapas in your life will make a big difference. But then how do you perform that tapas? Now, it says, I think it, when the Yoga Sutras, when it speaks of the yamas and niyamas, it says that like when you perform them, you get like a special boon, like a special benediction from each one. And if I'm not mistaken, and maybe some yogi here can help us, but I believe in the Yoga Sutras it says that from tapas one gets like mystic powers. One gets that kind of that kind of power in life. And people would perform tapas for that reason, right? That if I can completely shut down my senses and almost even go counter to the senses, like do the things that the senses don't want, somehow people tap into to some kind of mystic power. And we hear many stories like that in these ancient texts, right? People that were able to do that. But that's really not that's not the way the wise person, the person.
Mystic powers are not the goal, but they're fun.
How do you know if they're fun? You just think
Come
they're
on.
fun, but you don't have
They're
any.
fun. Sure, they're fun. How do you know I don't have any? I know.
Well,
I know
I've been around you for a while. I haven't seen you.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I don't display them to you because you haven't surrendered to me yet.
All right. But why don't we dip into the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita and see what they have to say? And what happens here? 17 chapters, as you're saying, it's a great chapter. It's divisions of faith, but it's a chapter that it takes a lot of the basic things that like a human is meant to be concerned about. Like when you enter into human life, it's like, okay, it's not just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. I got to think about how to take advantage of this opportunity of human life and advance my position in the universe, move towards spirituality.
Mayor, you just said that and you just rolled over it like it was common knowledge, but maybe people haven't heard that explanation. Let's just take a moment. Can you write that on the board? These are the symptoms of animal life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. If you're doing those things, you're an animal. It's normal, but we're human, and therefore we can act above the animal. That's the idea. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. These are the propensities of animal life.
Yeah.
But we can do more than that. We can inquire who we are, why we're here.
Okay.
I'm Raghunath. This is Bhakti 1001.
All right. So what the Bhagavad-gita does is it looks at things that a human is meant to be concerned about. One is the food they eat. Another is the sacrifices that they perform in life. Another is the austerities that they perform. And another is charity, giving in charity, right? That like when you're a responsible member of society, you consider these things. You consider them an important part of your life. And what the Bhagavad-gita is going to do is going to say, people do these things. They eat, they sacrifice, they perform austerity, they give in charity, but they do it according to the three different gunas, according to the three different modes in nature. And it all brings different results, so one has to consider it carefully. And he's always going to be recommending doing it in the sattva guna, in the mode of goodness, and he'll speak of the results that it brings. All right. So when it comes to austerity, it mentions all those, but austerity gives a little extra attention to in that 17th chapter, and it gives a verse for each one of the different ways that you can perform austerity, and then it speaks a little bit more about austerity. But it breaks it down into like a formula, or it breaks it into a certain context that you can look at it. And that this comes again throughout the yoga teachings. Many times it speaks of understanding something on the level of the body, words, and mind. Right? These are three things that the yogi has to control. Right?
Body, words, and mind.
Body, words, and mind. Body, words, and mind. The body is going to be the easiest to control. The words a little bit more difficult, right? Yeah. And the mind is the most difficult to control. So we should be trying to get control of these things, one by one. Like going deep. This is how the yogi control. We find that across the board. Like for instance, the sannyasi, right, carries the tridanda, 3 sticks kind of like tied into one. Mm-hmm. They represent body, words, and mind, all dedicated to God. Or there's that famous verse we quoted a lot, that tetenu kampam susamiksamana, where it says that, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon them, all the while patiently enduring the reactions to their past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances. There it says, it mentions the heart, the words, and the body, but the heart is just another way of saying the mind in one sense, right? From their heart, with their words, and with their body, offering you respects, that surely they're eligible for liberation, for it has become their rightful claim. Such an important verse, right?
Love it.
So we see many, many times, a sannyasi, they're meant to control body, words, and mind, all of that. So Bhagavad-gita, 17 chapters, is going to look at austerity, and it's going to talk about the austerities in sattva guna that are done with the body, austerities that are done for one's words or one's speech, and austerities of the mind. And if, we talk about this, but people want to go deeper into their yoga practice. They want to know how. This is how, right?
You mean it's not a one-handed crow or crow on my fingertips? That's not going deeper into my yoga practice?
That's actually, very possibly that's done in rajasic mode, even tamasic sometimes, like when you damage your own body and sometimes like that. Sometimes people with asana,
interesting
right?
way to put it. Asanas could definitely be rajasic or tamasic, depending on your intention of why you're doing it. Yeah,
right. So let's hear about
once you take a photo of it, Kaustubha, it's no longer yoga. Once you take a photo,
that's a takeaway for today.
I like meditation photos because it's always like, okay, I'm going to sit here in a meditational pose, and you take a photo of me. It's like, maybe there's never a photo of a meditator if you think about it, because who's going to, come back in a half hour, I'll be meditating, take a photo of me. It's like, they must all be posed. Unless you're walking around looking for meditators.
Yeah, maybe there are some people doing that. But
okay, chapter 17.
Yeah, we're text 14 of chapter 17 in the Bhagavad-gita. And first we're going to hear about austerity of the body. Okay? In the mode of, the sattva guna.
Pran Gopal wrote about that. He answered your question. Sadhana in the Sadhana Pod text 43, by austerity, impurities of the body and senses are destroyed, and occult powers are
There,
gained.
you see, I told you.
Pran
Maybe I
Gopal,
shouldn't have
he
even
might
brought
have-
it up.
He might have some occult powers.
Maybe I shouldn't even have brought that up. So what was again? Tell me that again. Two things, right? This is, again, Yoga Sutras is saying that when you practice tapas, these are the results that come.
Yeah, impurities by austerity, tapas, impurities of the body and senses are destroyed.
You purify your body and senses.
Powers.
Okay.
Impurities
And-
of the body and senses.
And occult powers. You develop occult powers.
Yeah.
All right.
Occult.
Here we
Love
go.
that word.
Okay. So text 14. Austerity of the body consists of worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master or gurus. We should check what word is used there. And superiors like father and mother, right? In cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and nonviolence. All right, that is how the yogi engages their body in sattva guna, right? That is the austerities of the body. And, they're worth taking a look at. I found it interesting. This word, Prabhupada translates as worship, which is puja here. But I looked up the word worship. And I found, because, it's like I'm supposed to worship my parents. I'm supposed to,
Yeah, Kaustubha, you worshiping your parents?
I can't say that I am. But I didn't really grow up that way. They know it. But here, like an archaic form of the word worship, which is often, again, Prabhupada's language is coming from there, is honor given to someone in recognition of their merit, right? So it could just say, like, you honor these people.
I mean, in these traditional families where, it's like the grandparents are worshiping Krishna, their great-grandparents are worshiping Krishna, they're passing down a family deity, and, the children want to stay, like, on a dharmic path to please their forefathers. I think it makes a little bit more sense. That being said, I owe a lot to my spiritual life, to my parents. I can't overlook love that has been given, because it forms us. We're made up of love. We're made up of love or being dismissed by our parents. It makes us what we are today.
Yeah. But, either way, what this verse is clearly saying, it mentions austerity of body consists in worship, or we could say showing respect, to God, to the Brahmanas, means the wise people in society. We should be able to recognize who's wise and detached and speaking the truth, and we should engage our body in serving them. And then the spiritual master and superiors, like father and mother. Okay, so one thing is showing respect to people that have earned respect, right? Engaging our body and showing respect to. Then the next thing mentioned is cleanliness, right? Keeping your body clean, keeping your home clean, etc. That's one way to engage the body in austerity. Because this is the thing. When we think of austerity, a lot of people, I mentioned how, like, in India, that austerity is respected. It's kind of seen as like by many people, it's seen almost as spirituality. I think one superficially can interpret austerity as spirituality. And a lot of times when people come, especially to like Eastern spirituality, they have an interest in austerity. But the question is really how you apply it. So this is, it's not saying, we're not finding here like austerity of the body consists of lying on a bed of nails, or sitting in a ring of fire under the hot sun and doing your meditation, or going into the cold river, in the middle of the winter. We're not hearing about like going out of your way to create some kind of discomfort. But it's saying respect people that deserve respect, right? Keep your home clean, keep your body clean. That's austere, right? And then simplicity, which is a very broad term. It can refer to so much. But it's really, an essential part of practicing yoga.
Sometimes when I read these, I was like, okay, not doing that one, not doing that one, not doing that one.
Can I just lie on the bed of nails?
Sounds easier.
And then, what speak of celibacy, which is mentioned next, and then nonviolence, right? This is how the body is engaged. Now let's. Why don't we read I'm going to read the commentary to this. It's short, but Krishna here explains the different kinds of austerity and penance. First, he explains the austerities and penances practiced by the body. One should offer or learn to offer respect to God or to the demigods, the perfect qualified brahmanas, and the spiritual masters and superiors like father, mother, or any person who is conversant with Vedic knowledge. Right? Any good teacher, any person that's sharing wisdom in your life, they should be shown respect. These should be given proper respect. One should practice cleansing oneself externally and internally. And they should learn to become simple in behavior. Right? Simple in behavior.
Hashtag right there, by the way. Cleanse yourself externally and internally.
Yeah. Well, it said externally, just by the hygiene and so on, and internally through mantra, especially. Right? One should learn to become simple in behavior. One should not do anything which is not sanctioned by scriptural injunctions. And they should...
You got a bunch of hashtags here, Mara. Write this down. One should be simple in behavior.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
When I boil down the teachings of the Gita in terms of the life of the yogi, in one sense it boils down to two things: simplicity and kindness. Right? They almost all fall under that.
Hashtag that. Hashtag that as a takeaway.
Simplicity and kindness.
Simplicity and kindness.
It almost all fits under that.
It boils down. I love that. It boils down. Boils down. You got a bunch of maple water. You're making maple syrup. It boils down to simplicity and kindness.
Practically, the whole thing boils down to that. Yeah. In terms of one's, in terms of one's behavior,
lifestyle behavior. Yeah.
Now, look at this. It says the word here, and one word used in this verse in terms of austerity of the body is brahmacharya, which refers to celibacy. Now, Srila Prabhupada, in his commentary, he's going to expand that celibacy just a bit for everyone, right? He's going to say, one should not indulge in sex outside of married life, for sex is sanctioned in the scripture only in marriage, not otherwise. That's an austerity, right?
Well, you know what my mom said.
Yeah.
I told you the story about the...
Oh, yeah. What's different between now and then?
Yes, yeah. It's worth saying. It's worth saying because it's such a cultural shift. How did it start, Mara? We were in the kitchen cooking something, me and my mom, and she said,
I used to date guys or something like that.
I used to date lots of men before your father. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to hear this. She's like, yeah, I dated lots of men. She goes, and then her whole face changed and she said, but the only difference is I never gave them sex. I never gave them sex. And they never asked for sex. Okay. She goes, nowadays, if you don't have sex after the third date,
where did she pick this stuff up? Like, what show is she watching?
I don't know. She says, nowadays,
Dr. Phil or something?
She does have 7 kids. And nowadays, after the third date, if you're not having sex, you're considered a weirdo. That's the difference between now and then. She said, and it's just like, it was a shift in consciousness. She didn't give it, and they didn't expect it. It was considered something very valuable. We give ourselves away very cheaply nowadays, like a $2 stone. Like that story yesterday, the $2 stone. You want the stone? It's $2. It's a $200,000 stone, man. It's a jewel. We're giving ourselves away for $2.
Keep that in mind.
It's called the Bhagavad-gita.
Okay. And I'll say this, that, someone may say this and say, well, you know what, I don't think I can do that. That's not the way I've been brought up. I don't see myself doing that. Well, we can go back to the commentary that we read. Even if one has no assets of favorable austerity, if they nevertheless take shelter of the mahatmas who are engaged in chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, they are sure to make progress on the path back to Godhead. So if you're having trouble with any of these austerities, then that's the point. Then you say with humility, man, I'm not like you. I can't control myself. Okay. It's not the end of the world. Let me serve you. Right?
I had a heart-to-heart with my son yesterday.
Did you?
On the way to school.
Which one?
And I just said, listen, Rocco.
Okay.
He just turned 14. I was just like, I just want you to
Good
know
little
that,
father-son thing, a little...
well, we were talking in the car, yeah, and I was like, you know about the first class intelligence, second class intelligence, third class intelligence? He goes, yeah. I go, okay, what's the first class intelligence? He goes, you hear something's wrong and you don't do it. I said, yeah, that's first class intelligence. Like the stove is hot, you don't touch the stove, and you never get burned. I said, what's second class intelligence? Yeah, you hear something's wrong, but you do it anyway. And you burn your hand on the stove, but you never do it again. I was like, yeah. I said, yeah. And nowadays we have a lot of third class intelligence, which means someone gives you advice, don't do that, and you do it again and again and again. I said, everybody because he was asking me, how was the show today? He always asked that in a very sweet, polite way. How's the show? How was the show today? And I said, truthfully, most of us who listen to the show, we suffer of second and third class intelligence. That's the idea of dented cans. We've all done things wrong. No one told us what to do, what not to do. One of the symptoms of Kali Yuga. And we've all burned our hands, and we're trying to change ourselves. You, my son, have the opportunity to have first-class intelligence as you enter manhood. The Bhagavad-gita has given you the opportunity, and I explained how people get into yoga system for a little while. They have this good karma in their next life if they were to die. They come back in an aristocratic family, very beautiful, with very good fortune. I said, but you have this birth. If you've been practicing yoga, the Sanatan Dharma, for a very long time, but then you die before perfection, you get born in a family of devotees. And from childhood, you worship deities, you learn mantras, you do pujas. I go, you have a sacred birth. Consider it sacred. When your friends are going to do low-class things, don't do them. I've tried to really install in his brain the sacredness of his birthright and the fact that he has the opportunity to have first class intelligence his whole life. I say you get to a point where the whole world is going to tempt you, and you just got to say, you know what? No, I don't want second class intelligence.
How did he respond?
He went back to playing video games. No, just kidding. He said nothing. No, he said nothing.
He took it in.
I think he took it in.
Right.
I think he took it in. It was one of those moments.
Well, he's predicted to become the guru, right? By the palm reader.
One of the mystics, yeah. One of the mystics said he'd be the guru of the gurus.
All right.
Could be.
Yeah. But so he's probably not like this, but many of us are like this. When we hear, this is just basically what it means to be a yogi. Part of what it means to be yogi is like this, right? You're respectful to. We grow up being disrespectful. Like we think it's cool to be disrespectful. We were kind of brought up that way, right?
Sure.
Through rock and roll or whatever it was that kind of shaped that in our head. Like, let's be disrespectful.
Disrespect is fun.
Teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, parents.
Anti-nowhere league.
I was never into the anti-nowhere league, but I suppose they have that effect on people. And even cleanliness is not, it's not thought of like
frowned upon in the punk
as a
scene.
way to higher consciousness. It's thought of like, maybe something that's just imposed on you. Simplicity is something that we don't even consider. Celibacy is something that we want to run as far away from as possible, and nonviolence, even, violence, like we're ignorant towards the violence that we commit, and we're also maybe even interested in being a violent person, So you get trained in a culture where these values aren't, understood or cultivated, and you become weak in austerity. And so, but I really love that Prabhupada said this, he mentions Chaitanya Mahaprabhu back in the commentary to the verse that we read today, text 20, from the Bhagavatam. And he says that even if one has no assets of favorable austerity, even if I'm a totally dented can, even if I try to control my senses and it doesn't work, right? Like, you know what? I tried doing that, I couldn't keep it up, right? If they nevertheless, now here's the formula, right? Okay, you're hopeless, you're dedicated. If they take shelter of the mahatmas, right? Take shelter of the mahatmas. Find the great soul who can control their senses. Find that great soul who does have that first class intelligence. Find that great soul who has dedicated their body, their mind, their words, to God, who's embodying it, for real. And just try to serve them. Just that's the austerity right there. Like the time that I would be using for this, I'm going to use to try to serve that person. That's real yoga right there. That's not like this. There's nothing superficial about that. There's nothing. You can pose as a yogi. You can do lots of asanas. You can dress like one or use the vocabulary one has. But all that's superficial. But once you say, I'm going to take my time and my energy and try to serve, and specifically that person, who you serve, the mahatmas being defined here. What is the mahatma? Here it says is one who's always engaged in chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, right? That's the way the Bhagavad-gita, mahatmanas tumam parta, daivam prakritamashita.
You're describing yoga for dented cans, my friend.
Yoga for
That's
dented
the name
cans.
of your yoga. That's the name. When you go on Patreon and teach a yoga class, that's going to be the name of your class.
Okay.
Yoga for dented cans.
Yoga for dented
Although,
cans.
isn't that Luke's class? Yoga for dented cans.
Oh, that's right. He's got dented can repair, right?
Dented can repair.
Yeah.
By the way, another thing about being a dented can, because this is what I that I did mention to Rocco that I wanted to mention was the problem with being dented is you develop a taste for that world outside of Dharma because Rajas is attractive and you get attached to it. You become attached to the things of Rajas and Tamas.
So you're telling him once you start to engage that way, it's harder to stop. So if you never,
that's what I was saying. So better never to go. Just don't go there.
You'll be happier.
Right. You'll ultimately be happier. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one takeaway. First class intelligence it makes it easier to be happy. Any other takeaways today, Mara?
Oh, she sent me a whole thing here.
Okay.
She secret messages me. She's like, I've got a secret message for you. All the takeaways.
I thought Mara was going to read them, but okay, you're going to take it over. All right.
Mara, why didn't Mara read them?
That's what I'm saying. Let Mara read them.
It all boils down. Yes. You asked me to send it to you, whatever you guys like.
I did. I forgot. I forgot that we said Mara's going to read them, but I was like, send me the secret message. Okay,
it all boils down to simplicity and kindness.
Like that. Check.
We are made of love.
Okay, by the way, this is our new theme. We're at the end of the show. We're going to have takeaways that you can apply to your life. You can hashtag, put on your phone, tag Wisdom of the Sages. We'll tag you back. It might change a life today. Share them.
Don't do low class things.
Don't do low class things.
Cleanse yourself. Yeah. Cleanse yourself internally and externally. Once you take a photo, it's no longer yoga.
Oh, good one.
I like that one. Once you take a photo, it's no longer yoga.
You can't overlook love that has been given. That was a good one, Raghu. Yeah. A yogi controls the body, words, and heart/mind. Let's see. Take shelter of great souls. Mystic powers are not the goal, but they're fun.
Yeah, I'll get that T-shirt. I'd wear that.
And you can't.
I look at all these as T-shirts, potential T-shirts, mugs, or neck tattoos.
You can't dream up dry philosophy. You need to hear from authorities.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be a good shirt, but I like it.
Sure. And then we had our wisdom from Grandma Terry.
Yes.
Which was
unlimited. And what about the devil one? What about the devil one? The devil's real.
The devil's
no
real.
devils on Halloween. That's something. All right, you guys. Tomorrow, our one-day retreat at the Bhakti Center. Nancy
back
Rothman.
on Sunday with maybe a guest, maybe not.
Yeah, no class tomorrow. Maybe a guest, maybe not. Nancy, what is our
Bhakti recovery group at 3:00 today?
Bhakti recovery group at 3:00. Yoga with Raghunath at 7 a.m. this morning. If you haven't done it yet, I'm going to say it again. You go to Apple Podcasts and you go to reviews and you leave a review. And in that review, you sneak in your story. You tell your story about how you got here. We love to read them. I go through all of them and I read people's stories. And Share your journey home, because people learn. They find their own journey in your journey. We love to hear it. If you want to write us messages, go to Wisdom of the Sages. That's the best way to do it. wisdomofthesages@gmail.com. Thanks for everybody who bought t-shirts. It helps support us. Thanks, Patreon members.
Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com.
Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. Thank you.
You know what I realized is
for...
we did austerities of the body, but we didn't do the words in the mind. Maybe we do that on Monday, or not on Monday, on Wednesday.
Yeah, Raghu's taking off. We're gonna figure it out. I think I'm gonna be around Wednesday. Next class. Anyway, I'll see you guys Sunday.
You'll be in Kathmandu. Where are you gonna be?
Kathmandu. I just like saying that word.
And you're going to Kathmandu.
Kathmandu.
You're going to Kathmandu. It's for real. You're actually going there.
What does he do? What does Catman do? Oh, I don't know what he does.